How's it going? This is Charlie Robinton with Creekside Angling Company in Issaquah, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to tie a March brown parachute. It's a great imitation of the done stage of this insect. The next month or so we're going to be having some good hatches on the Yakima of March brown mayflies. So tie some of these up and give it a go. So I've got a size 14 standard dry fly hook. This pattern works well in sizes 12 and 14, although a lot of times I prefer the smaller size. I've got dark brown 8/0 thread that I'm using. I'm going to start the thread right behind the eye of the hook and just wrap a base layer down to the bend. I'm going to make the tail out of moose hair. Makes a good looking tail. The moose hair also has a little bit of flotation, so it'll help this fly float high and dry. I've stacked my moose hair to even the tips. You don't need a lot of it, just a few little strands, 3 or 4 pieces. Measure it against the hook so it's just a little bit longer than the shank of the hook. Transfer it to your opposite hand and use a pinch and wrap technique to secure it to the top of the hook. Now you don't want to make really tight wraps because you don't want this tail on this fly to flare. So just make sure that your wraps are snug but not super tight. Now I'm going to advance the thread to about the top third of the hook shank there, and I'm going to prepare to add my wing. If you look at a March brown here from the Yakima, it's got a really nice dark kind of mottled colored wing, which is a perfect match if you're using a natural colored deer hair. So I'm going to take this deer hair. I'm just going to get some of this fuzzy fiber out of it. Go ahead and put this in my hair stacker, just a small clump of deer, just enough for a little parachute wing. Once I've stacked it, even the tips, I'm going to arrange it with those tips pointed forward and measure it out on the hook. Now I want this wing to be just a little longer than the hook shank is wide. So I'm going to measure it out to about 1/4 inch past my tie-in point. And I'm going to use my same kind of pinch and wrap technique to secure that wing down with several strong. Now I'm going to hold on to all these butt sections, and I'm going to take my scissors and trim at a very shallow angle. Just preparing it so that I can wrap over it with my thread and make a nice sort of sloped body on this fly. And once I've done that, I'm just going to wrap over this stuff. You notice that makes it really easy to make a nice tapered body on your fly. This is basically the same way that you'd tie a sparkle dun or a compara dun. This time we're going to use it to make a parachute post on the fly. So I'm going to just cover these up just a little more. Prepare it for making that parachute. Need 2 more wraps on there. Now, in order to complete this parachute post, I like to kind of turn the fly sideways and pull my thread around the front of this clump of deer hair, this deer hair wing. Now I'm wrapping horizontally. Let's turn it back so you guys can see. I'm wrapping horizontally around the base of this deer hair wing in order to form a parachute post. And wrap up a little over, like a 1/16 of an inch up that deer hair post that you're making. And that's when I like to turn this sideways and just kind of make a nice base layer of wraps, so you get a nice sturdy parachute post to wrap your hackle onto. Now I'm ready to add my hackles. So I've prepared 1 grizzly and 1 furnace. I've sized each of these by wrapping around the hook shank And notice the ends of those fibers stick out just a little bit past the point of the hook, or the gap of the hook. That's about the right size hackle for this fly. Now I'm going to arrange these feathers one on top of the other with the concave side facing away from me. And I'm going to wrap over them and hold them up and wrap horizontally around the post all the way up to where I stopped my wraps. And wrap back down over them just to secure them nicely. Wrap back down to the tail of the fly, right at the bend of the hook. Now I'm going to add my dubbing. For this, I'm using this light tan. It's actually called March Brown color. This is by Nature's Spirit. It's a dry fly dubbing treated with preen oil. And dub a really thin, kind of sparse body. Mayflies have a very slender body. You don't want to add too much dubbing. Just enough to basically coat the thread is all you want. So I'll apply a little bit of dubbing to this thread, and then I'm just going to wrap up the hook shank to form a slender, tapered body on this March Brown dun that I'm making. And once you get up to the front, you can continue to wrap up to the eye of the hook. When you get to the eye of the hook, go ahead and just remove any excess dubbing that you may still have on your thread. Now your next step is you're going to wrap your parachute. So I'm just going to take these feathers, make sure I'm holding on to both, and wrap horizontally. 3 or 4 wraps should get you down to the bottom. For these flies, I prefer a little bit fuller wrap because sometimes I fish them in kind of fast, choppy currents and riffles and things. Once you've wrapped, go ahead and take your thread from the front, hold your hackle at a downward angle, and just wrap the thread horizontally around the base of that parachute post 3 or 4 times to secure that hackle wrap. And then you can clip your excess hackle away. And just go ahead and make several more wraps around the base of that parachute post, pulling tightly at the end of the wrap. And when you're done, bring the thread to the front of the fly, secure it again around the hook eye, kind of hold that parachute out of the way, and just form a small head out of thread there. And the hardest part is just whip finishing this guy while kind of holding the feathers out of the way. And I'll just make 3 or 4 wraps with the whip finish. Alright guys, that's it. Here's your completed March Brown parachute done. So wrap up a few of those and let us know how you do. Thanks for watching.